systems of linear inequality. So yesterday we solved just an equation system, but today instead of an equal sign, we have inequality symbol. So what you need to remember from Algebra 1, if you see the inequality, now anytime they're equal to, so you have a less than or equal to, or a greater than or equal to, that means you're going to have a solid line. And you can find room in the margin or room on the back page. So you'll want to write these things down. So if it's equal to, the line will be solid. If it's not equal to, so if you have a less than or a greater than, that means it's going to be a dashed line. So your line will either be solid if it's equal to, or dashed if it's not equal to. And then with inequalities, we have to shade. Normally we shade left or right, but with a line, it's going to be either shaded up or down. And here's something I came up with to kind of help you remember which way to shade. And the acronym is GOLD. G-U-L-D. So GOLD. Gold. Now, each letter represents something. So G stands for greater than. So in the problem, if it's a greater than or greater than or equal to, you're going to shade up above the line. So the greater than, you shade up. If it's a less than or a less than or equal to, you shade down. So greater than, shade up. Less than, you shade down. So those are the two things you'll need to memorize for our test next week. So we have another test coming up next week. Probably near Friday. I can't remember what the exact date is, but that's at the end of next week. Okay, so the very first thing we do is we need to first graph the line. So we're going to start with the first one at the top, which is y is less than or equal to 1 plus 1 half x. Now we have to be careful, because which one of these values represents the y-intercept? The 1. So always start by graphing your y-intercept first. So start at 1. If my slope is 1 half, which way do I go? Yeah, I need to rise 1, run 2. So from the y-intercept, go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. And what's the opposite of up 1, right 2? Down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. Do not connect the points yet, just put the points. Now, because of the inequality, we'll have to decide, will the line be solid or dashed? So if it's equal to means it's going to be solid. So it needs to be a solid line. So go ahead, connect those points with a solid line, and put your arrow showing it keeps going. And then with inequalities, you have to decide, where do you shade? Do you shade up or do you shade down? Now, looking at this symbol, what symbol is that? So if it's a less than, which direction do you shade? Down. So some people get confused about which direction is up and which direction is down. Well, here's the trick. Put your pencil anywhere on the line. Here is up. Put your pencil on the line. Here is down. So if you're confused, sometimes if the lines get really, really steep, that's when people get confused. So when you get confused, put your pencil on the line, and then you can decide which direction is up or down. So either go up or down. So what we need to do here, since it's a less than, we need to shade down. So when you shade the first time, you need to shade lightly. So lightly shade. So I'm using a highlighter so you can see that it's lightly shaded. So everything below the line gets shaded lightly. The first time, shade light. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. Now we're going to switch to green. Now we're going to graph line 2. So for line 2, looking at this inequality, what is the y-intercept? -1, so we need to start on -1. Now the slope is the coefficient in front of x. So what value is actually in front of the x? Negative 1. So if my slope is negative 1, do I go up or down? So from negative 1, go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And the opposite of down 1, right 1 would be up 1, left 1. Now, before you connect those points, because of the inequality, you have to decide, is it going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Solid. Yes, looking at this symbol right here is equal to, so that means it's going to be a solid line. So go ahead and connect those points with a solid line. And put your arrow showing you keep going. And because of the inequality, we have to decide, do we need to shade up or down? So looking at this symbol, is this a greater than or a less than? So if it's a less than, I need to shade down. So this second shading, I need to shade everything below line number 2. So instead of pink highlighter, I'm going to change it to yellow highlighter. So here's my line right here. I need to shade everything that is down below it. So if you put your pencil on the line, this is up, so don't shade that. This is down. So I need to shade everything down below that line slightly. So what happens after I cross this triangle? What's going to happen? It's going to get darker right here. Why is it getting darker right here? Because it's getting shaded for the second time. So that is really what we're looking for. When we're looking for our answer, we want to know where is the darkest area. So this triangle right here should be light. It was shaded one time. This triangle should also be light because it was shaded one time. But down here, make sure this is the darkest area on your paper. That dark area is what I'm looking for. That's going to be your solution. So every point in that dark area is going to be a solution. Now on your test, they may ask you to write a point that is a solution. So in order for a point to be a solution, it has to be in the shaded area or on a solid line that adjoins the area. So in order to be a solution, that point has to be in the shaded area or on the solid line that adjoins the shaded area. And when I'm talking about the shaded area, I'm talking about the darkest shaded area. So it has to be in the dark shaded area. I might need to add that. It needs to be in the dark shaded area. But I started it with S because remember, in order to be a solution, it can be in that dark shaded area or on a solid line. So if you're asked for a solution, it's all the S's. In the dark shaded area or on a solid line adjoining that area. So I'm going to write down some points that are solutions. So in order to be a solution, it needs to be anywhere in this dark area or on this solid line or on this solid line. So give me an example. 0, negative 1. Yes, it's on the solid line that adjoins the dark area. So 0, negative 1. I agree. What's another one? Negative 1, negative 6 would be right here. I agree because it's in the dark area. And let's do one more. What's one more that would be a solution? Negative 6, negative 4. I agree. It's in that dark shaded area. So negative 6, negative 4. Now let me put the point right here, 0, 0. 0, 0 is in a shaded area. So is it a solution to the system? No. No, because is it in the darkest area? No. So it has to be in the darkest area or on the shaded line that's part of the dark area. And let me show you the solid line I'm talking about. So it can be on that part of the solid line or So it has to be anywhere between what's in red or on that red line. Okay, moving on to problem 2. First, let's graph the first equation, or not first equation, this is an inequality. So for the first inequality, I'll do it in blue. What is the y-intercept? 2, so we need to start at 2. What's the slope? Yeah, 2/3, so we need to ride 2, run 3. So from the 2, I need to go up 2, right 3, up 2, right 3, up 2, right 3. And the opposite would be down 2, left 3, down 2, left 3, down 2, left 3. Now, before you connect your points, you have to ask yourself, is it going to be a solid line or a dashed line? So look at your symbol right here. Yeah, do you see it equal to? No, so if it's not equal to, it needs to be a dashed line. The easiest way to do a dashed line is just put like a little line through each point. That's the easiest way. Now, we have to shade. So look at our symbols. Remember the acronym I made up is GOLD. So if it's a greater than, you shade up. If it's a less than, you shade down. So what is this symbol? Is it a greater than or a less than? So if it's a greater than, which direction do I shade? Up. So put your pencil on the line. This direction is up. So shade everything up above it. So we're going to start this one with yellow. So make sure the first shading is light. I need to graph the second line. So for the second line, I'm going to do it in green. For the second line, what's the y-intercept? -1. What do you notice about the slope? It's the same. So we're still going to go up to right 3, up to right 3, up to right 3. And the opposite of up to right 3 would be down to left 3, down to left 3. Now, before you connect those points, you have to decide, is it going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Yes, if you look at this symbol right here, it's not equal to, so it needs to be a dashed line. Again, to make your dashed line, just put a little line through each point. Then we have to decide which direction to shade. So looking at this symbol, is this a greater than or a less than? If it's a less than, you shade. So put your pencil on the line. This direction is down, so everything below the line needs to be shaded. Now, when we're solving this system, when I'm grading your paper, I'm looking for the darkest area. So where did the shading overlap? Nowhere. So technically, this problem has no solution. There's nowhere where there's any overlapping in the shading area. So there's no solutions here. So no overlapping with our shading, so there's no solution. Next one, number 3. Number 3 is our special cases. These are the problems that give people the most issues for some reason. So let's say if I had, don't write this down or draw it. So if I had x equals 2, that's going to be a line that goes through the x-axis at 2. Well, go to the x-axis, put your point on 2. If it goes through the x-axis, does it go up and down or left or right? It would have to go up and down. So this line would be x equals 2. Now, if I had y equals 7, that means my line has to go through the y-axis at 7. So go to the y-axis, put my point on 7. Now, if the line right? It would have to go left to right. So if you see these types of inequalities where you have only the x or only the y, it doesn't have the other one, it's either going to be a vertical line or a horizontal line. Okay, so let me erase all of this. And let's start with the top inequality. So for the top inequality, we have x is less than 3. So go to your x-axis, put your point on the 3. Go to the x-axis, put your point on the 3. Now you have to ask yourself, which axis does my line need to go through? So if it needs to go through the x-axis, does my line need to go up and down or left to right? So if it goes through the x-axis, it does have to go up and down. So I need to draw a vertical line. But before I draw that vertical line, I have to decide, is it going to be solid or dash? Dash. So to make a dash line, I'm just going to put a dash on every other unit. So it's not solid because it's not equal to. But it has to go through the x-axis, so it has to be a vertical line.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
A dash line followed by y line.
Why does it have to be dashed? You have to look at your symbol. Your symbol will tell you whether it's solid or dashed or to shade up or down. So looking at that symbol I highlighted in pink, it's a less than, so is it equal to?
No.
So if it's not equal to, it's going to be dashed. If it were equal to, then it would be solid. So if it was equal, it would be solid. Now, if I have a less than, remember my acronym goals? Greater than, shade up, less than, shade. Well, is there a way to shade down below that line? No. So for the vertical case, it's special. So you just have to think about what does this symbol mean. Well, what does this symbol mean? Less than. So think, what numbers are less than 3? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are these numbers less than 3?
No.
Or are these numbers less than 3? Over here. So I need to shade the left side. All of these values to the left of 3 are less than 3. So the symbol points to the left, so we're shading the left side. Now your first shading needs to be very, very light. Don't go crazy with it. This first shading, shade it light, because we need to be able to tell where the shading overlaps. Now for the second inequality, I'm going to switch it over to green. And for this inequality, I have to go through the y-axis at what value? So on the y-axis, put your point at -1. And if I'm going through the y-axis, does it need to go up and down or side to side?
Side to side.
Side to side. Now when you're drawing that line, you have to ask yourself, is it going to be solid or dashed? Yes, looking at this symbol right here, if it's equal to, it's going to be solid. So solid line through the y-axis at -1. And remember my acronym goals? Looking at my symbols, is it greater than or a less than?
Greater.
So if it's a greater than, which direction do I shade? So if I shade up, put your pencil on the line, if I shade up, I'm shading everything up here. This time I'm going to start my shading over here on the right side. So I'm shading up, lightly shade. But what happens when I cross this dashed line? It needs to get darker. This is where the overlapping is occurring. So what I'm looking for when I'm grading your paper, I'm looking to make sure that this is the darkest area on your homework assignment. So make sure this region is darkest. So this rectangle is light, this one is light, this one should have no shading, and what I'm looking for is this darkest area right here. Now, if they ask you to write a point, that would be a solution. Remember, to be a solution, it has to be in the dark shaded area or on the solid line that adjoins that dark shaded area. So what could be a point that is a solution?
0, 0.
0, 0, yes. 0, 0 is in the dark area. What could be another solution to this system? Negative 2, 4, yes, it's in the dark area. What about 3, 1? Is that a solution?
No.
No. Is it on a solid line that adjoins the area? No. But what about negative 9, negative 1? Yes, why?
Because it's on a solid line.
It's on a solid line that adjoins the dark region. Okay, next one, number 4. Now, all of that is what you have done in your Algebra 1 class. Now, we have to make it Algebra 2. So to make it Algebra 2, instead of having 2 linear inequalities, how many do you see? 3. So that's the Algebra 2 effect. We now have 3 inequalities in our system. So we're going to do it the same way. So let's start with the first inequality. So we have x minus y is less than or equal to 2. I have to get the y by itself. What would be the first step? Yeah, move the x to the other side. What happens to x when I move it to the other side? You change the sign to negative x. Did I move the 2? So it stays positive 2. Is y by itself? How do I get rid of the negative up front? Divide all 3 of these by negative 1. And when you are solving inequality, what do you have to remember to do when you divide by a negative? Split the sign. So instead of less than or equal to, it's greater than or equal to. And your negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. And 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Now this one is ready to graph. So what's the y-intercept? Negative 2. What is the slope? Up 1, right 1. Slope is 1. And the opposite of up 1, right 1 would be down 1, left 1. Now you have to ask yourself, is this going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Solid. And why is it solid? Because it's equal to. Now, because we have 3 lines here, you have to make special attention, or just be very, very careful. So be very cautious about shading very, very lightly the first time. So since there's 3 of them, make sure you're shading very lightly the first time. So make sure you're looking at this symbol right here. Remember my acronym, GOAL. What symbol is this, a greater than or a less than? If it's a greater than, which direction do I shade? Up. This is the first shading, so make sure you shade lightly. So shade up. Okay, moving on to the second inequality. We have x plus 2y is greater than or equal to 4. That's y by itself. What needs to move? What happens to x when I move it to the other side? So 2y is greater than or equal to is positive x on the left, negative x on the right. Did I move the 4? No, so it stays positive 4. Is y by itself?
No.
How do I get rid of the 2?
Divide by 2.
Divide all 3 of these by 2. So that gives me y is greater than or equal to, what number's in front of the x right here? A negative 1. So what fraction do you see? So this would be negative 1 half x, and 4 divided by 2 is? Okay, so as mentioned, I need to flip the sign. Do I need to flip the sign here? Why not? We divide by a positive. We switch over here because we divide by a negative. So only if you divide by a negative. So we don't flip it for that one. So good question. If you divide by a negative, no one, most likely, most of them you'll have to divide. Now, when I'm graphing this one, what's the y-intercept? 2. If my slope is negative, do I go up or down? So we need to go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. And what's the opposite of down 1, right 2? Up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2. Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, this one I did go over 3. Let me change that. So this side I messed up. Sorry about that. So back to my y-intercept. Make sure you go down 1, only right 2, down 1, only right 2. Okay, now those points are right. Now, for this green line, I need to be careful. I have to decide, is my line going to be solid or dashed? So looking at this symbol, why is it solid? Because it's equal to. So connect all your points with a solid line because it's equal to. Then I have to decide which direction do I shade. Yes. Why do I shade up? The greater than. So when I shade up, all of this gets shaded. Now one area got shaded darker. So this area right here should be the darkest area on your paper right now. So this should be the darkest area. This triangle should be light. This triangle should be light. So the darkest region should be right here at the top. Now, again, we're making this algebra 2, so we're throwing in a third inequality. So that last one is y is less than 6. Now, this is one of the special lines because we're missing a variable. This one only has one variable. It only has y. So when you're graphing it, go to the y-axis, put your point on the 6. So go to the y-axis, put your point on the 6. Now my line has to go through the y. Does it have to go through the y-axis? Does it go up and down or left to right? Left to right. Now will this line be solid or dashed? Why is it dashed? Because it's not equal to. Hopefully, if you shaded well so far, you'll be able to tell where the darkest area would be. So I still know right here is still my darkest area. But for this line, if you had a left hand, do we shade up or down? So when I shade down, all of this gets shaded. Now, when I'm grading your paper, I'm looking for the darkest region. So where did the triple shading occur? This triangle right here in the middle. This should be the darkest space on your homework. Now, if they ask me for a solution, what would be a point that would be a solution to that system? 0, 4, let's change to white. 0, 4 would be right here. I agree, it's in the dark region. What about another point? 2, 3. 2, 3 would be right here. What about one on a solid line? 0, 2. Yes, all three of those would be solutions because they're in the dark area or on the solid line. So again, when I'm grading your paper, I'm looking to see where's the darkest area. Now, if you did not graph the line correctly, will your shaded area be in the correct region? No, so you first need to make sure you're graphing these lines correctly. Okay, go ahead and read number 5, and we'll talk about number 5 in just a second. Okay, problem number 5. This is our word problem. Just because it's a word problem doesn't mean it's going to be difficult. Now for number 5, it says that you need to fence in a rectangular lot. The distance around can be no more than 2,800 feet. The length should be greater than 800 feet. What are the possible dimensions of the lot? Now the first thing we need to do is properly define some variables here. So it says you need to fence in a rectangular lot. The distance around can be no more than 2,800 feet. When they're talking about first, they're talking about a rectangle. Let me change it back to the color you can see. So they're talking about a rectangle. If they're talking about the distance around the rectangle, they're talking about perimeter. And you should have had geometry before Algebra 2, and you should have memorized a perimeter formula. And the perimeter formula is what? Length times width is area. Do you remember the perimeter formula?
It was.
2 length plus 2 width. The perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width. So length, width, width. The perimeter I add of all 4 sides, and how many lengths are there? 2. How many widths are there? 2. So that's where the perimeter formula came from. Next sentence. Well, first of all, we need to finish that because here we shouldn't have an equal sign because they say it should be no more than 2,800 feet. So let me come over here. So it should be 2L plus 2W equals the perimeter. But it's not going to equal, I have no more than. What symbol do we use for no more than? Less than or equal to. And what's the total perimeter? 2,800. So there's our first inequality. 2L plus 2W is less than or equal to 2,800. And then for the second equation, it says the length. What do we use for the length? L. The length. So the length should be what? Greater than what? The length is greater than 800. So those are the 2 inequalities. Now, how do those 2 inequalities look different from problems 1, 2, 3, and 4? They are not using X and Y, they're using what? L and W. So probably what we want to do is make it more familiar to us, right? Do we really want to use L and W? Now let's change it to X and Y. So let's make this 2X plus 2Y is less than or equal to 2,800. So here I'm using X and Y. So X represents length and Y represents width. So if I rewrite this inequality, instead of L, what am I using for L? So X is greater than 800. Now, does this look more familiar to us? Yes, it does. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and graph this. Now, are both of these ready to graph? No. That first inequality needs to be solved. So we need to get the Y by itself. So in order to get Y by itself, what has to move? The 2X. So bring down the 2Y. What happens to 2X when I move it to the other side? Becomes negative 2X. Now 2,800 is positive, so I have to put plus 2,800. Is y by itself? Divide all three of these by 2. And we get y is less than or equal to negative x plus, what's 2,800 divided by 2? 1,400. So this one's ready to graph, and the second inequality is already set up. So let's go ahead and graph this first one. So what's the y-intercept for this one? 1,400. So when you start at 1,400, and if the slope is negative 1, well, are they counting by ones here? No, they're counting by how much? 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 200. So if I go down 200, I also have to go over 200. And hopefully the x-axis is counting by 200. Yes, it is. So go down 200, over 200, down 200, over 200, down 200, over 200. Now, I have to decide, will this be a solid line or a dashed line? Yeah, this is equal to, so it needs to be solid. So go ahead and connect those points with solid lines. Then you'll have to decide, do I shade up or down? So looking at my symbol, if it's a less than, do I shade up or down? Down. So this triangle gets shaded. Remember, your first shading needs to be light. And then our second inequality was x is greater than 800. So go to the x-axis, put your point on 800. And if my line goes through the x-axis, does it go up and down or side to side? Up and down. And when I go up and down, would it be solid or dashed? Why is it dashed? Because it's not equal to. There's my dashed line. Now, I didn't put arrows on here. We need to talk about that. Should I put arrows? If I put arrows, that means I could go down here.
No, you can't.
Could I have negative length or width? No, so I don't put arrows here. You can't have negative length or negative width. Now, if I was talking about money, could my money be negative?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it could be. So if you're talking about length and width, you can't have negative. So it needs to stay in quadrant 1 only. Now, going back to my symbol, I need to decide where do I shade. If it's a greater than. Now, because it's a vertical line, I can't shade up and down. I can only shade the left side or the right side. So which side has numbers greater than 800? The right side. So when I shade the right side, we shade the side to the right. And what should be the darkest area? This triangle right here. So make sure this triangle is the darkest area on the graph.